Robert Whittaker explains why he accepted Khamzat Chimaev fight despite cancellation last time in Saudi Arabia. Since the rebooked fight was announced for October, there have been numerous comments under Whittaker's social media posts about how the former middleweight champion should have steered away from taking the Chimaev fight a second time. Unsurprisingly, given his anyone, anywhere, anytime attitude towards fighting, Whittaker sees UFC 308 as his chance to make up for the opportunity he missed in June. That's not how the business works. Unfortunately, the business isn't completely run on merit, Whittaker explained on the latest episode of the MMA Arcade podcast, sharing how he believes this is a case of the UFC desperately trying to push the undefeated phenom into title contention. Chimaev is a hard fight. He's obviously a big draw, especially over there in Abu Dhabi. And I think the UFC story-wise wants to see Chimaev get a shot at the champion. They want to see Chimaev at the top of the ladder and in that title picture. But I love disrupting their plans, I love derailing their stories, and that's why I took the fight. Did you know I asked for the fight? Straight after the last one, I saw there was an Abu Dhabi card in October, so the timeline fits perfectly. Fortunately, after their last fight fell through, the former middleweight champion made it clear to the promotion that he'd agreed to the fight only if they guaranteed his opponent would actually be there on October 26th. Merab Dvalishvili claims Umar Nurmagomedov will only get a UFC title shot because of his name. Merab is frustrated that Umar might get a UFC bantamweight title shot with just 6 wins and only 1 against a ranked opponent. I know the UFC are pushing him. He doesn't deserve the push like this, but you know, he's a good fighter, but he beat nobody. He has a push because we all know why. He's Khabib's cousin. It's like cheating a little bit to get here. I have 12 fights in the UFC. I beat like 7 or 8 ranked fighters. If things go Merab's way on September 14th, he will face the Russian contender in his first title defense, setting up an exciting matchup between 2 top wrestlers. UFC President Dana White criticized the UFC pound-for-pound rankings. As of now, Islam Makhachev has the #1 spot, Alex Pereira has #2, and Jon Jones is #3. As reported by Low Kick MMA, here's what Dana had to say about it. Jones coming in at #3? It's a disgrace. It's the strangest rating in the history of mankind. Whoever makes these ratings has no fucking idea about fighting. Jones is an active fighter. He beat Cyril Gane and got injured. Jones must be #1. End of story. Makhachev and Pereira can be #2 and #3. I don't care. But if the #1 spot is taken by anyone but Jon Jones, then your rating is trash and you don't understand fighting. Do you agree with Dana? Who do you think deserves the #1 spot? Jon Jones or Islam Makhachev? Do you think activity should play a big factor while making the rankings? Jones has won 1 fight in the last couple of years, but it's undeniable what he achieved when he returned. Captured UFC heavyweight title in a wildly impressive win over a talented Frenchman. Leave your opinion in comments. Tom Aspinall talks about making the leap from MMA to boxing, especially with the tempting money fights in Saudi Arabia on the horizon. I'm definitely going to stick with MMA for the time being. I've got a lot more to do in the UFC at the minute, but with what them Saudis are paying, if we're talking $15 million, I mean, you can never say never. At the back end of my career, I might look into that thing, but right now, I've got a lot more work to do with the UFC, but I'll never say never to it. I'd take a couple of money fights, but to be a world champion in boxing, it's a lifetime. A full body of work to be a world champion. I might not be a world champion mate, but I'll pop over for a few quid. Islam Makhachev says Ilia Topuria would need to defeat a Movsar Evloev before he considers facing Topuria. Ilia called out Makhachev after his dramatic knockout win over Alexander Volkanovski earlier this year, stating that defeating the Dagestani fighter is his ultimate goal. The lightweight champion was quick to respond to El Matador's call out. Another short guy is talking, another short guy wants to be smashed. However, when speaking to Marca before his UFC 302 title fight against Dustin Poirier in June, Makhachev was much more complimentary of the newly crowned featherweight champion. Ilia is good, yes. I think in my opinion he has good wrestling skills, but he always uses his boxing. And when you have good boxing, your opponent has good boxing. It's a little bit dangerous. He is good, but his next opponent is Max Holloway. If he beats Max, and if he beats Movsar Evloev, he has a big job to do in his division. Man, I don't know why the little guys want to fight me, continued Makhachev. I would give him the chance. I gave Volkanovski the chance twice. Maybe for the future someday. Why not? Islam is open to a crazy fight with Max Holloway. Why not? I already beat Armin. If UFC puts him next, that's no problem, but I'm not excited much. I need some new name, new challenger. I already beat Armin. If Max wants, let's do it. I don't need his BMF belt, but Max is a good name, big name. It's gonna be a crazy fight for the fans. If he beats Topuria, and this is a tough match for him, but if he beats Topuria and the UFC wants the match, let's go, let's do it. Former title challenger Marlon Vera faced former flyweight champion Figueiredo in a bantamweight bout at UFC Abu Dhabi. Chito admits he may have returned too soon in first statement after UFC Abu Dhabi loss. I failed at myself last night. I thought I was ready. I felt good in the gym, but at the end, maybe I came back too quick after a hard title fight. Life doesn't end here. I still dream about big things. I just need time to let go and reset. I'll be back, reborn. During the fight, the UFC broadcast team, including Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier and Paul Felder, mentioned that Vera had commented on needing to start quicker than usual since he had only 3 rounds to compete. Historically, Vera has often been slow to start in the opening round, but has improved as the fight progresses, achieving notable victories like a 4th round knockout of former UFC champion Dominic Cruz and a surprising 3rd round finish against UFC Hall of Famer Frankie Edgar in 2021. This time, however, Vera never really found his rhythm. Tony Ferguson won't retire from MMA, even with rumors about his UFC contract. Tony Ferguson's downfall in MMA is among the worst, and sadly, there's no indication it's going to end anytime soon, as El Kukuri is adamant about not retiring from the sport. After his defeat to Ki Essa, when it looked like he might finally retire, the crowd started cheering and chanting his name, which he has taken as the fans wanting him to still compete. He is open to continuing his career outside of the UFC. What we do is we go and do something else if the UFC don't give me another fight. And I want to be real, if those fans out there are willing enough to come out here and fly and spend thousands of dollars to come watch me compete somewhere, I guarantee they're gonna follow me somewhere. I'm gonna get better and better and better. I feel like these gray hairs right here with the blonde hair are kind of slowly fading away too, so I might have to do something different, Ferguson said at the post-fight presser. Even though he's still a big name in the sport, it's unlikely many organizations will be interested in the 40-year-old, given his recent struggles. Who do you think deserves the #1 spot, John Jones or Islam Makhachev? Leave your opinion in comments.